1962, 1966. At that time, 62, I was 7 years old. I only knew the name as Minden Barracks. There are various histories, there are many histories to this place. What I was going to do is to relate his experience when he was here between 62 and 66. The library has kindly prepared any questions for me to ask, I don't know. And I suppose that those questions are related to the visuals that will be shown. Somebody control again. But before we go to the first visual, that's the first one, perhaps I can ask you your impression of this place when you arrived, and if you know any history of Minden Barracks, as far as you can remember.
Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for inviting me down here. Minden Barracks, or Penang Island in particular, is the place I consider that I grew up. I was here from when I was 16 years old until 20 years old, which is really formative years, And so I remember this place, it was my home, so when I come back I felt really home, The impression when we arrived from England, we got posted from the UK obviously to Penang, and the impression I got when I got here was just amazing. In those days, people from the UK didn't travel all over the world, so I consider myself very, very lucky to be posted out here. In actual fact, unlike most of you people here, I gave up my education to come here, because at that time I was just about to take my exams, and I was told as a 16-year-old, do you want to take your exams or do you want to move out to Malaya? Now, if you were 16 and somebody asked you that, I'm sure I know what your answer would be as well. I want to move out to Malaya. But absolutely, an absolutely perfect place to live, perfect place to grow up in. The thing that's amazing about Malaysia, Penang in particular, is the people. My first impression was the people who live here, because everybody is so friendly. Everybody gets on together, and it's an absolutely brilliant place to live. I'm not just saying that, it is one of the best places in the world as far as I'm concerned. What more would you like to know about the place? Your impression of the place, and perhaps you know what some aspects of the past of Minden. Sorry, say again. Some aspects of the past of this place. Right. It was an army barracks. It had the troops here. Now, I was particularly in an unusual position in the barracks because I was a son of a soldier. My dad was a soldier and looked after all the houses for the soldiers and their wives. That was his job. So, with me, I could talk and speak to every single person, whether they were privates, whether they were corporals, or whether they were sergeants, or whether they were officers. I knew the barracks inside out, I knew the Minden Barracks inside out. It's a lot different to look at it now than it was then, because it was surrounded by open fields, straight into the jungle down the back. But it was, for a child of my age when I arrived, it was a playground. An absolutely brilliant place to live in. And my philosophy in life is forget everything else and be happy. And I can certainly say he was happy in the barracks. During the time we was here, there was the Indonesian confrontation, which put quite a lot of strain on the troops. And it meant to say at times we did have a lockdown and we'd have to stay in the houses while we were protecting the camp, just in case something happened. And our troops went over to Borneo and everywhere else fighting. So I took on the role of running entertainment for them, and I used to take the army skiing boats and teach people to ski and teach people to Ringi. We used to go water skiing with the families and the army. So the main centres of entertainment for people in the barracks was the small swimming pool, not the one you've got now, small swimming pool, which is an absolutely brilliant swimming pool. And today they let me swim in it again, for the second time since I've been here. Because the first time I came back, it was 40 years before I managed to get back to Penang. So I've got another swim in there today. But the troops used to get there for socialising, and the water skiing was another major place where they enjoyed themselves and relaxed. Yeah. In particular, I don't know if there's anything in particular about that. Do you want to ask me?
Yeah, you will remember.
It's slightly different. The post office, as you probably all know by now, was our house. When I first moved here, we lived in a house a little bit further away from there. But as I said, my dad looked after all the houses and gave all the people which house they want. I got private accommodation in Gelaton and all over the place. So he was able to pick and choose where we lived. Now, the post office used to be an army stores, and it just had stores in there, nothing else. And he looked at it and said, this is going to make a nice house. So they cleared it out, made it into a house, and we lived there for the next 3 years, which is absolutely brilliant. It's a lot different, as you'll see from the pictures as they come on, than what the post office is exactly the same building, same bathroom, same toilets, everything's the same. But the surrounding area has changed. Next door to the post office was a big cinema, an army cinema where we could go and watch films every night. It was an absolutely brilliant place to live. And a long way down past the post office was where all the Gurkhas were, the Nepalese soldiers, had their huts there. And being honest, the Nepalese, the Gurkhas are absolutely brilliant people to get on with, they're lovely people. But you don't really want to meet them in the jungle because they're extremely good fighters. They used to send our soldiers into the jungle and say, you must not be found for 3 days, stay hidden, yeah? And they bring them back and they say to them, right, did you stay hidden? They say, yeah, we stayed hidden, nobody found us, we're okay. And then they show them the bootlaces out the shoes and say, well, the Gurkhas took these out your shoes in the middle of the night, yeah? So if you've been in real battle, you would have been killed. Yeah? That's how good the Gurkhas were, absolutely lovely people. They obviously got different places. We had a little library here where we could borrow books. Because of my reading age, which is about 7, I used to read all the science fiction and everything for the future, so I nearly read the library dry there. There was a naffy where we could get all of our food and go shopping. And in the house we had an armour to help us. We had an armour that helped us in the house. We had a gardener at times came in, and we had a hairdresser came in. But the thing about our armour was your armour and her family became part of your family. It was as easy as that. They went with you everywhere. Their children went with us everywhere. They used to play with our children. It even got so bad at one time that our armour wanted me to marry a daughter, but I didn't. Otherwise, Joe would have been, my wife would have been annoyed when I got back.
You mentioned the post office and you mentioned the cinema. We'll come back to that. Can you scroll back to the first photo? Can you tell us about the photo here?
Yes, I can tell you about that photo. It's probably the worst photo you could have put on this display. That photo was taken, we'd never dressed like that. That photo was taken probably the same day as we flew away in 1966. If you can see how big I am in that photo, when I came to Malaya, I was 5 foot. I was 5 foot when I came, and 5'10" when I went away. And I don't think I wore any clothes most of the time, so I don't know where they did that one up from. To go back to that photo, in that post office, there was 9 of us living. Yeah? My father, my mother, and 7 children. So there were 7 children came over to Malaya. The lad on the end, not the good-looking one, the ugly one on the other side, joined the British Army while he was in Malaya, about 12 months, 18 months after he came in and went back to England. And there's one missing there who joined the British Army a bit later. That couldn't have been before we went back, because Eric wouldn't have been there, sorry. That must have been around about 1964 at the latest, my mistake. Because Eric was there and he joined up. So we had 2 brothers join the army from there. And another one of my sisters who was in that photo got married one of the green jackets, one of the troops, one of the soldiers, while he was in Malaya. And eventually they went over to Germany, got posted over to Germany. If you stand with your back to the post office, that is the view that used to be looking out where the university is now.
What's the background?
The background is part of the army camp, administration offices, but as I say, this is standing with your back to the veranda.
Where's the post office?
We're facing the veranda. We're facing the post office.
Oh, you're facing the
We're
post office?
facing the post office, and that's the view behind. It was all from the whole countryside. It was nice.
And you're facing the post office from the hillside?
Yeah, from the veranda.
From the veranda, okay.
From the veranda, facing the post office.
Oh, right. And those are, what buildings are those?
Those buildings at the back are administration buildings. My father used to work in the one that his head's next to, sorting out married quarters for the army. And behind him are some of the places where they kept all the stores for us. All the army families were given all the bedding, the chairs, the tables, yeah, and they were in one of those buildings at the back. And slightly behind that was the army school. Yeah, I can't tell you exactly which one, because unfortunately it's sort of 50 years ago.
They're set against the hills.
They're set against the hills, yeah.
Bukit Gambir, is it? Is it Bukit Gambir? The hills behind the background?
They're
Just asking the local.
Yeah.
You mentioned about the green jackets.
The green jackets.
What are these?
The green jackets, the infantry. The army infantry. Army infantry, the fighting men, yeah. Absolutely.
And they're here.
They were in there. They were in there. My dad was in a different regiment, but he was on long service. He was serving long service, and he came in to do a specific job, and that was doing the married quarters. Yeah. My dad was a Lancashire Fusilier because we were from Manchester in England. I don't know if any of you've been there, but we were born in Manchester in England. Yeah. And he was a Lancashire Fusilier. He had a yellow ackle in his hat, big yellow ackle. But the green jackets are the people who went over to Indonesia and into the jungle and fighting. Yeah. But,
this is the post office. You elaborated, you mentioned about the post office. Was it occupied before we lived?
before we moved in, it was a storeroom.
It was a storeroom?
It was a storeroom. We physically, my dad said, I like that, and I'm the boss, so we're going to have it as a house, basically. So we altered it round and had it as a house. If you look to the left of the store of the house, that goes into the armor's quarters, the servant's quarters, where she did the washing and the shower and everything else. And this gate came out to the back, where the road is no longer there, the road's gone, they moved it. But it was a nice house. There was no window, well we put a window, you'll see later, we put a window in that end, but that's all. But it was a really nice house.
Do we have a plaque about the background of the post office?
Sorry?
I mean, asking the audience or anybody who knows. Do we have a plaque explaining the history of the post office and what it was? I think USM must put up some information on this building to capture the history. And
It would be nice.
yeah, it would be nice to know what it was early on and when it was built.
Yeah, I know when we left
Everybody from the Penang's office or from the Vice Chancellor's office, you can take note. You can tell them to. We don't have information about the old buildings here. Even samples, we don't have information. We only know the samples, but we don't know what it was earlier.
Yeah.
So again, that's I think.
I know when we left the house, it continued to be used as a married quarter. It was still a house. Somebody else moved in because I talked to them on the internet, and they moved into this house after we left, and they say it was the best house in Penang.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, these are photographs of, I guess, most yourself in the back, in the playground. Can you tell us something about it?
Right, that power station. This is our garden at the post office. And all the little swings and trees and things you see I made, because I had nothing better to do, so I used to make things for the children to play on. If you see down below the tennis court, half of that was at the same level of the house, and we dug it out to make a badminton court, should I say, a badminton court there, so we could play badminton. And very interesting, if you look to the bottom picture on the right, that building behind the tennis court is a cinema. That is the Army cinema, the AKC. Yeah? And the type of film that you used to watch there was For Russia with Love and, you know, the old films. That's different, that's all changed now, obviously. If you look at the first picture on the left, the little Nissan hut, you see the tin hut going over the top, that was a barber's shop. The barber was in there, and there was a few people who had what you call franchises that actually worked, you know, in the camp, selling things like this.
Who were the barbers? Were they members of the military?
No. In the camp, we had civilian workers. A lot of the issuing of stores and looking after things was all done by civilians. People who come in, who became very, very good friends. Yeah. In actual fact, because I couldn't get a job, I couldn't get paid. Because I don't know any of you know, but in 1962, if a Malaysian citizen could do a job, a foreigner was not allowed to do it. So I came over thinking I would get a job, and I couldn't get a job. So I just worked for nothing for the military. Yeah. What I was going to say now. They have civilian workers, yeah, and sometimes I'd make money because I'm a little bit of a handyman, let's put it that way. I'd make money fixing their motorbikes and things like this. And again, as well as the green jackets, in any army division, you have other divisions. You have the mechanical transport division and the workshops where they fix cars, yeah, things like that. So I used to work very, very closely with them. But I used to fix motorbikes and fix cars. But the problem is, some of the civilian workers you had to watch, because one of them was a very good friend of ours, used to like to drink a lot. Yeah? And one night, the guard brought him down to our house with his motorbike, yeah, and said he has to come to see you because you can fix it, yeah. And so I said to him, what is wrong with your motorbike? Yeah. Now he had a few drinks. And he said, I put it into first gear, it falls over. I put it into second gear, it falls over. I put it into third gear, it falls over. So we got him to take him home and put him to bed. But yeah, there's lots of civilian workers. They call them the people who looked after the stores, the troops, everything else. Mostly the civilians. Yeah, mostly civilians. And then of course you have the military police in there, you had army security in there. And we did in fact have a helicopter section. We had the Army Air Corps with helicopters that flew out of there as well. Yeah, so it was a busy little camp. Yeah.
How well would the surrounding community be engaged with the camp?
We got on very, very well with the surrounding community. As I said, your Anna became part of your family. And she worked with you and you looked after her kids, she looked after yours. But to give you an example of how well we got on, when our son got married, and I'm not sure if you've got any of these photos, you've got them, but I don't think they're on here. Was invited to the wedding, yeah, and I think we spent something like 14 or 15 hours at Sunday doing the celebrations, even taking the bride and groom up to their bedroom at the back, you know. So it's, you know, absolutely perfect. I think in Penang, the secret of Penang is everybody gets on with everybody. I think that's, you know, it's probably the best place in the world for that.
It's a small community.
It's not particularly small. I've known smaller communities where they don't know each other. Yeah. So it's a very, very nice feeling. It's just a nice country. It's a nice place.
Yeah, these are photos. I think. Is this the helper that you were talking about?
Yeah, that's Kim. That's Kim. That was our Anna. Yeah. Unfortunately, we never get back in time. Kim had died before we came first back in 40 years. But one of the older brothers came back in 2003 and actually said hello to Kim. And one of Kim's sons still lives in Sungidura. Still in Sungidura. Yeah, where that gate is. But it doesn't show there. But most of the pictures inside the house, some of the older pictures, you will see Kim's children as well in the pictures. Yeah. And that's my dad on the top left-hand side. Left-hand side. And that's the house where the cinema was. That's looking from the cinema at the house. car. That was our second car. We had two cars. The first one we got was a Ford Consul, which I learned to drive in. Across from the camp, looking at Pulau Jack, yeah, was masses of open ground. It was all flat then, yeah, and I actually used to go on there and drive around and learn to park, yeah, because I took my Malayan driving license here and passed this. Unfortunately, I've lost it since, but I only had the ID cards, the old ID cards with thumbprints on. But the first car was a Ford Consul, and that one we bought from Borneo Motor Company. I don't know if they're still here. We bought it from Borneo Motor Company, and I think we see the registration, which I'll never forget, is PD3389. Yeah. Yeah, PD. Yeah, a long time back.
Borneo, I think it was a long time back.
Yeah.
Borneo Motor, 60s. This photo?
Right, that's your
siblings?
Yeah, there's one of my siblings on that photo when I find it. It's on the second row down, from second one in from the right. Yeah, is my one of my younger brothers. Two younger brothers, one of my younger brothers. And these were army schools with army people. Yeah. They didn't always live on the camp. They normally lived in accommodation somewhere else. Yeah. But we had army teachers, and they got a very good reputation in the army schools, because in the army, in England and most places, at them days we used to move every 2 years. Yeah. But every 2 years we had to change school. Yeah. So you had to survive. Yeah. And you had to. If you had army, it wasn't always an army school. You had to survive, you had to learn to survive, which is probably why I'm called Ivor, because Ivor is part of survivor. Yeah? But you really did have to learn to survive. On the internet, you will find sites called Army Brat sites, because